What's up everyone, Coach Dale here with Ka Auto Fitness, and in this video I'm going to show you how to make your own suspension trainer for under $11. Then I'm going to show you some exercises that you can do with it. Let's get started. To make your own suspension trainer, you're going to need just a few things. So I went to Home Depot and I bought myself this ratcheting tie down. I don't really care about the ratchet part, but what I care about is the tie down strap that it comes with. I picked this one specifically because it has a 766 pound load rating, or working load. That way it can hold up bulky boys like myself when I'm using it. And so that's why I bought this one specifically, but they do sell cheaper tie down straps that you can buy. This one cost me $4.98. The next thing I bought was a 2-foot piece of PVC pipe. I bought a 2-foot length at a 1-inch diameter, and I had one of the employees cut it into 2 pieces for me, and so these are going to be my handles, and that way you don't have to cut anything at home. And the 2-foot piece cost me $2.34. The last thing I bought was a 1/4-inch quick link chain. This one has an 880 pound working load, and this is just going to make it easier to anchor my strap to something when I start to use it. And I'll show you how to do that in a moment. Alright, so to get started, I'm going to cut this strap right here at the very beginning. And because this strap has an end that is, I don't need to do anything to it, so that's easy. I just need to take this one end, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to fuse the ends, kind of burn the edges of this strap just so that it doesn't fray. Don't need to do a whole lot, but just get those ends to where they're melted, and then you're good to go there. Now, one quick tip: when you get your pipes cut, the ends are going to be kind of sharp. So what I would recommend is take a little piece of sandpaper, if you can, and just lightly sand the inside edge and the outside edge of this pipe on both ends, both pipes. And that way, when you have the strap rubbing through this, it's going to help save that strap. Kind of dulling that edge of that pipe is going to make it so that it'll just make your strap last a lot longer. So your next step is to slide on your pipe onto the strap and then kind of determine where you want to make your knot. So I'm going to make my knot, I'm going to make it fairly large so that I have a big gap in this handle area here. So I'm going to tie my knot next. And the knot I'm going to tie is a bowline knot. Okay, so I'm going to measure out a certain distance. I'm going to use this table actually to measure out the strap. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to tie my bowline knot. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the strap in my left hand with the point I've decided to use, and I'm going to make a loop like this. It's important that the loop is going to the right, just like this. I'm going to turn this and take this other end of the strap. I'm going to hold this up like this. I'm going to start from the bottom. I'm going to go up the hole. I'm going to take this loose end and I'm going to go back around this trailing end. I'm going to go back down the same hole, and then what I'm going to do, once I have this piece, this is the same piece that goes around this trailing end here. I'm going to take this, I'm going to pull this and squeeze these 2 parts together just like that. That is going to be my handle. Okay, just like that. Then I'm going to do the same thing to the next side. Slide on that pipe. To that strap, make sure it's flat in there. Pre-measure my distance on the strap. Make that loop. Again, this is going to go up, around, and then back down. And grab these two ends, just like so, and I'm going to kind of cinch this knot tighter. Make sure it's as even as possible. There you have it. This is how it should look when it's done. You got two working ends where you're going to hold, and then they're about even. They're not perfect, but they're about even. That's what we care about. Now, if you want to use this in your home, one way that you can do that is to tie a knot near the end, and just make sure that you have even lengths on both ends. And you can tie a knot and hook it between the door and the door jamb, and that is one way to use it. Make sure that you slide it close to where the hinges are so that it's on the stronger end of the door up high. And again, just use good judgment. Personally, what I do, or what I prefer, is I like to hook it using this quick link. I like to hook it back on itself, and you can do it this way, or you can do it just with the loop you create on the end here. But you can loop it around something and then loop it back on itself and just tie off that ring. Not tie it off, but close that end, and you got a loop right there. But this requires that you have something to loop it around, but this is probably the easiest way to use it, and that's the way I use it the most. All right, let's get into some exercises here. I want to talk about using the suspension trainer to assist certain movements. So if you can't do a body weight squat easily just with your own body weight, try using the suspension trainer. It takes a little bit of the load off your muscles and your joints and makes the movement easier for you to perform. So that way, you can get the range of motion of a squat without the full load of a regular under gravity load bodyweight squat. I would say it probably takes anywhere between, say 10 to 25% of the load off of your body and your joints. So you can train your glutes, your hamstrings, that squat movement with a suspension trainer. All right, so another way you can use a suspension trainer is and scale it up. You can scale it up to, okay, I can do bodyweight squats no problem. I want to add a little bit of plyometric movement into my program. Well, you can do that with the added stability of a suspension trainer. Okay, so if you've kind of mastered the double leg movements, you can try to do the single leg movements. One I recommend is the lateral or the side lunge. This is really great because it trains your body kind of in the frontal plane, which you're not used to moving in a lot. Primarily, we tend to move in the sagittal plane, which is flexion and extension. So this kind of trains your abductors and your adductors really effectively, and then you can add in an element of plyometrics, like with the squats. You can kind of bounce here and be a little more explosive. Okay, so moving on to another lunging movement pattern. This is the assisted reverse lunge. And this is really great because the lunge requires a lot of core stability, and if you have pain or weakness and you want to still train that lunge movement, you can do it with the suspension trainer. The suspension trainer just reduces that load a little bit and still allows you to train that movement pattern effectively. Okay, so for a little bit more challenge, you can try the reverse lunge and jump. Okay, so this is still assisted using the suspension trainer, so it adds a little bit of stability to an explosive movement. But what you're doing here is you're lunging back, and with your forward leg, you are extending that hip. You're explosively extending your hip, and with your back leg, you're driving that knee up high and adding that little bit of a pop there. So this is great because it trains that single leg explosive hip extension and power, has a little bit of a plyometric element to it, and this is kind of scaling up from that single leg assisted reverse lunge. All right, so this is the assisted split squat. This is really great because a split squat tends to be pretty unstable, so using the suspension trainer adds a lot of stability to this movement. And again, it's a single leg movement, so it's really great for symmetry and balance in your hips and your legs. The next step up from the regular split squat is a plyometric split squat. This trains single leg power and hip extension, and using the suspension trainer, it really helps you stay balanced so you can focus on the lower body training effect of this movement. And if you want even more of a challenge, try the switch split squat. This requires even more balance and coordination and is a great explosive, metabolically demanding exercise that will really drive up your heart rate and fatigue you. Okay, moving on to probably one of the toughest single leg exercises. This is the Bulgarian split squat. The Bulgarian split squat is where your back leg is elevated somehow. Obviously, if you use the suspension trainer, it is even more unstable than if you're using just a bench. So this is really great. You can go slow. You see me going slow here. I'm developing that kind of slow, stable strength, and this incorporates a lot of core activation. All right, so let's move on to some upper body exercises. This is the row. If you've seen some of my other videos, you know that I love my rows, and this is probably one of the best ways to train rows without any weight. This is just using your own body weight. Change the angle at which you're rowing to change the intensity. You can, go really challenging and scale it up or down based off of your ability level. And if you are really strong and really want to work your rows, you can try the single arm row and punch, which you see me right here. And this is really great because it incorporates a little bit of a rotation and requires a lot of back and core strength. Okay, so let's move on to some shoulders. One of my favorite ways to use the suspension trainer is to do shoulder flies. These are the I, Y, T, and W shoulder flies. And they're great because they train the shoulders in different positions. And the T flies are often called pull-aparts. And again, so, adjust your angle to adjust the, difficulty of these movements. If they're too difficult, move back and have a little bit less of an angle. But what's really important with these is to make sure that you set your shoulder blades, your scapula. Make sure you pull them back and lock them in place before you initiate the movement and throughout the whole movement. Okay, so another really great exercise is the high row with external rotation. This is a really demanding exercise, and same thing with the shoulder flies. You want to make sure that you pull your scapula, your shoulder blades, back, squeeze your back together, and make sure that you keep them locked there throughout this exercise. And if you do this movement in one kind of smooth motion, they're often called face pulls, and they're both really effective ways at training your shoulder and external rotation. All right, so moving on to the chest. This is the suspended chest press. This requires a lot of shoulder stability, and just to change the difficulty, adjust the angle. Another great exercise for your chest is the suspended push-up. This takes a normally stable exercise and turns it into a relatively unstable exercise, and this requires a lot of core strength. And you can change the exercise a little bit by kind of moving back towards your feet and creating an incline. This is going to help target your upper chest and shoulders more. Another really great exercise for your chest is the suspended chest fly. This one really targets your chest and your bicep and eccentrically trains that chest kind of with that stretching motion there. So this is a really tough exercise that requires a lot of core strength. These are some other ways that I target my chest when using a suspension trainer. These are kind of chest press punch outs, and really all I care about is working my shoulder under strain. So I'm kind of in that chest press position, and I'm just kind of moving my shoulder through different ranges of motion. There are a lot of really great core and ab exercises that you can do on the suspension trainer, but I'm just going to pick one. This is the suspended knees to chest or suspended crunch. This is a really tough exercise and it requires a lot of abdominal and core strength. Okay, so targeting the arms now. These are pretty straightforward. These are biceps curls. Again, you're using your body weight, so if you want to make the exercise more or less difficult, change that angle. And you can really get a lot of reps in. You can try doing these rotational curls where you add a little bit of wrist rotation there, and you can build a lot of strength and build bigger muscles with this simple exercise. Opposite of the biceps is the triceps. This is your triceps exercise, the overhead extension, and again, this is a body weight exercise, so adjust the angle to adjust the difficulty. But one quick tip is make sure you try to keep your elbows in as much as possible, and that'll really help you to isolate the triceps here. If you're a new user to suspension trainers, focus on the technique. Pick some exercises and use a less aggressive angle that makes it a little bit easier, so you can do, in that 8 to 12 repetition range. And again, focus on the technique and just getting in that practice, and eventually you'll start to develop that musculature for those specific exercises. For advanced users, really try to challenge yourself. You can try to pick tougher angles to challenge yourself. You can try to do single arm or single leg exercises versus a double arm or double leg exercise, and try to push the effort and push the repetitions to start to max fatigue. And you can add on more sets. Instead of doing like 2 or 3 sets, try doing 3, 4, maybe 5 sets depending on your workout. In addition, suspension training can add variety and can help keep your workouts fun and interesting while allowing you to target specific muscle groups within your body, specifically like your core, since the strap creates instability. You can target your chest and your back, and especially your shoulders, since you are connected to the strap, the suspension trainer, through your shoulders. So you can really get your shoulders, and what's really important is that you train your back, your pulls, a little bit more than your pushes, just for general health. Helps keep your posture nice and tall, especially with modern day living. People tend to sit a lot, and that sitting, that flexion in your spine, it kind of creates this forward anterior. What I was trying to say is that modern habits such as extended periods of sitting, being hunched over a computer for hours on end, etc., tends to cause 2 things: tightness in the anterior chain and internal rotators of the shoulder, i.e. the pushing muscles that are in the front of the body, and 2, weakness in the posterior chain, especially in the external rotators of the shoulder, i.e. the pulling muscles of the back. This requires more training through pulls and various types of shoulder flies to balance everything out. What you want to do is, generally, rule of thumb in strength conditioning is to train your pulls 2 to 3 times as much as your pushes, and that's going to help create balance and symmetry in your body and help keep your posture muscles nice and strong. And if you are an athlete that, a swimmer or overhead athlete like a baseball player or a volleyball player, where you're using your arm and your shoulders, and your shoulder is moving at a really high velocity, you want to make sure you really take the time to train your shoulders, especially the posterior aspect. You want to get those rhomboids, your rotator cuff, your infra supraspinatus, your subscap, your teres minor, teres major. You can train your lats and your traps fairly easily. Those are big, strong muscles, but you want to target those smaller postural intrinsic muscles that are going to keep your shoulder healthy and also keep your posture upright and tall, which is the way you want it. There you have it. You can make your own low-cost, high-quality suspension trainer and use it to get a really great workout that trains your whole body. Let me know what your favorite suspension training exercise is in the comment section below. And if you got value from this video, make sure you leave a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. But remember, don't subscribe to poor nutrition. Keep working hard, stay healthy, and take care of yourself so that you can take care of others. Thanks for watching, and kia kaha!